What if the safest choice was actually costing you everything? Living with your children may seem like a natural path as we grow older, a decision rooted in love, family bonds, and mutual care. Something that, at first glance, offers comfort and security. But sometimes the very change that was meant to protect us ends up slowly taking away the things that make us feel alive. If you're in your 70s, or even just starting to think about what life might look like from here on, this video might speak directly to your reality. Because for many older adults, deciding to move in with their children feels like the smartest step. It's practical, more affordable, and keeps family close. But behind that seemingly simple decision, there's another side, a subtler, deeper side. A side people rarely talk about out loud, but many experience in silence. In this video, we're going to talk about 8 clear signs that living with your children may slowly be undermining your independence, your sense of self, and your inner peace. These are situations that hardly ever come up in conversations, but they happen to millions of people, and I invite you to stay with me until the end. Because recognizing these signs can not only help you make better choices in the future, it can give you something even more valuable. Permission. Permission to take better care of yourself, to protect your space, and to feel whole again. Let's do this together. Number 1, losing your personal space and identity. One of the first things we lose when moving in with our children isn't just the bedroom where we sleep. It's our space. It's that feeling that everything around us still belongs to us, that we're still in control of our own lives. At first, it might seem like a practical change. You tell yourself it's just a new setting, just a little adjustment. But as the days, the weeks, the months go by, something strange starts to creep in. You realize you no longer have a place that truly feels like your own. The kitchen already has a new owner. The living room follows rules that aren't yours. Even the fan or air conditioning settings are no longer under your control. You find yourself asking before opening a cabinet. You worry about taking up too much space in your favorite armchair. And little by little, the question arises, where do I belong now? This isn't about being ungrateful. It's not even about conflict. It's about how our physical space helps hold together who we are. The home you lived in for so many years became more than just a place. It held your rhythm, your memories, your sense, your freedom. When you leave it, even for a good reason, you might end up leaving behind more than you expected. I remember Mr. Raoul, 74 years old, who moved in with his daughter after a mild stroke. At first, he felt cared for, at peace. But a few months later, he told me, his voice soft and sad, that he had started whispering on the phone so as not to bother anyone. He avoided cooking his favorite meals, afraid the smell would linger in the kitchen, and then he said something I'll never forget. I used to be a man with a home. Now I'm a guest with a suitcase. That sentence stayed with me, because it captures what so many feel but can't always put into words. It's not about pride. It's about autonomy. Having a space of your own, even a small one, gives you the right to make simple choices. What time to go to bed, what to eat, what show to watch. Choices that say, I'm still the owner of my routine. When that is taken, away, your identity starts to fade. That feeling of belonging, of freedom, slips further and further away, and you start to feel invisible. But here's the truth. You're still here, and you deserve a space that reminds you of that every single day. Number 2, the shift in family dynamics and authority. Moving in with your children can quietly reshape the entire structure of the family. That relationship where you were the one who guided, who made the decisions, who showed the way, begins to shift into a new dynamic, one where you now have to adapt to the house, the routines, the choices that no longer pass through you. And it's not because your children are disrespectful or cold. Most of the time, they try their best to be kind and respectful. But the truth is, when we're living under someone else's roof, even if it's our own children, the balance changes. Suddenly, you're following their mealtimes. Conversations happen without being scheduled, and sometimes without you being included. Household decisions once made with you are now simply shared with you. Your opinions, no matter how wise or lovingly expressed, start being overlooked. Not out of malice, but simply because routine pulls people that way. That child who used to ask for advice now makes decisions and just assumes you'll agree. For many older adults, this shift feels small at first, but over time, it creates a growing discomfort inside. You stop being the point of reference. You're no longer the person everyone turns to. You become someone who just receives updates. We decided this, after everything has already been decided. I remember Donna Irene, a 72-year-old woman who moved in with her son and daughter-in-law after her lease ended. At first, she was overjoyed. She felt welcomed and safe. But as the months went by, something changed. She began to notice her role in the family had shifted. No one asked if she wanted to go out on the weekends anymore. Household conversations no longer included her opinion. One night, sitting in the living room, she overheard her son and daughter-in-law talking about selling the car she used to drive, and no one asked her what she thought about it. They just talked about the sale, as if she wasn't even there. That night, she told me with sadness, I raised my son to be independent. I just didn't expect to feel so irrelevant in the process. This isn't about wanting to control everything. It's about dignity. The authority you held in life didn't come by chance. It came from care, from responsibility, from experience. And losing it, especially in such subtle ways, can feel like disappearing from the inside out. When your voice starts to fade inside the very family you helped build, you start to wonder, where do I fit in now? It's not just a change in roles, it's a change in how you are heard, seen, respected. If this message resonates with you, type number 2 in the comments. I want to know you're here, with me. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's a great time. Turn on notifications too. That really helps us keep bringing you content that comforts, guides, and inspires. Now, let's keep going. Number 3. The disruption of old habits and daily rhythms. After decades building your life, shaping your routine around what makes sense for you, your schedule, your rituals, your little daily quirks, all of that becomes more than just habit. It becomes a form of self-care, a kind of emotional balance, almost like silent therapy. But when you move into your children's home, even the smallest details of your routine can disappear overnight. What time do you wake up? How do you take your coffee? That quiet moment of reading, that background music that soothes you. All of that can change without warning. Suddenly you're adjusting, not just to someone else's routine, but to a lifestyle that might be louder, more rushed, or simply different from your own. The rhythm of the house becomes your new rhythm, and you try to keep up, often monitoring yourself to avoid being a burden. Some people adapt more easily. It's true, but many live through a silent kind of stress. The stress of having to reprogram their days to fit into a system that wasn't built with them in mind. And even when this adaptation happens, it comes with guilt for letting go of things that to others seem small, but they're not small. I remember Mr. Juan, 76 years old. He used to go for the same morning walk every day at 7 a.m. without fail. He said it was his peaceful moment. He loved seeing the neighborhood slowly wake up, hearing the birds, waving to familiar faces on the street. It was his way of starting the day with a light heart. But after moving in with his daughter and grandchildren, the mornings became a whirlwind. School lunches, barking dogs, rushed breakfasts, lots of noise. That peaceful walk got pushed aside, and when he tried to resume it, he was told it was no longer possible to go out at that time. He tried to insist at first, but over time he simply stopped asking. And that silence, that decision to stop asking for something that brought him peace, was just the beginning of many other small sacrifices, little losses day after day that slowly eroded how he saw himself. Most people don't realize this, but these habits aren't just routines, they're part of our identity. They say, this is how I live, this is what makes me feel good. When those rituals vanish, they take with them part of our emotional grounding. We lose comfort, but also a bit of clarity about who we are and the life we're living. And the worst part is this feeling has no name. It's a discomfort that spreads slowly, hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. Because the truth is simple. When your day no longer feels like your own, your life starts to feel like it belongs to someone else. Number 4. The loss of financial autonomy and decision-making power. Among the most silent and often overlooked consequences of moving in with your children is the direct impact on your financial independence. At first, it might feel like a relief. After all, you no longer need to worry about rent, utility bills, groceries, maybe not even the weekly market run. But little by little, the simple fact that you're no longer managing your own expenses can start to erode your sense of control and of freedom. You might still contribute here and there, with groceries, or part of the bills, but you're no longer the one setting the budget. And depending on how things are arranged, your children may gradually take over areas like your income, bank transactions, or even scheduling your medical appointments, obviously. Of course, all this usually comes from a place of love and concern. Sometimes you ask for help, other times it's simply offered and accepted. But the outcome is often the same. You stop being the one making decisions and become part of a system you didn't create. And the biggest impact is often in the small choices that say a lot about who you are. Maybe you've always liked to support a cause you believe in, or treat yourself to something nice once in a while. But now you hesitate. You wonder if spending money on something that brings you joy might seem excessive, or even selfish to those managing the household finances. I think of Mr. Leonardo, 78 years old. After a delicate surgery, he moved in with his daughter and son-in-law. They offered to take care of his finances while he recovered. At first, he felt relieved, but months later, when he wanted to buy a birthday gift for his granddaughter or make a donation to the neighborhood church, his daughter said, "Dad, do you really need to spend money on that right now?" He told me, "For the first time in my life, I felt like I needed permission to be generous. And you see, it's not just about the money. It's about what money represents. Freedom, dignity, the ability to make choices, to live according to your own values. When those decisions start depending on someone else's approval, even when well-intentioned, you begin to feel managed, not respected. Little by little, you delay simple purchases. You even hide small expenses just to avoid judgment. This change rarely comes with arguments or open conflict. It happens quietly, like a hallway that keeps getting narrower each time you try to walk through. And perhaps the hardest part? This kind of control often comes wrapped in love, but love that ignores your autonomy isn't care. It's a disguised form of confinement. If you've watched this far and this point spoke to you, comment number 4 down below. And if you're not subscribed yet, take a moment to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. It helps us keep bringing you content that informs and supports you. Number 5. The erosion of privacy and personal boundaries. Moving in with your children might sound like a beautiful idea, and it often is. But along with that closeness comes a subtle trade-off: the loss of your privacy. Sharing a home means sharing space, schedules, noise, energy, and often unspoken expectations. Slowly, this can begin to blur the lines that once defined your personal space. Sometimes it starts with small things. Someone walks into your room without knocking, opens a letter addressed to you thinking it was for the house, or uses something of yours without asking. At first, these seem like minor incidents, but in truth, they're signs that your space, which used to be yours alone, has become an extension of someone else's home. And the hardest part? You might feel like you don't even have the right to speak up. After all, you're living in your child's house, and you don't want to seem ungrateful or cause tension. So, you stay quiet until these small invasions become part of your new normal. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from the body but from the mind. It's the exhaustion of always being alert, always self-censoring, always worried about being a burden, even in the one place where you should be able to rest. I think of Ms. Evelyn, 75 years old. After losing her husband, she moved in with her son and his family. At first, she said it felt comforting to be surrounded by people, but over time, she realized she was never truly alone. The TV was always on, the children ran through the house, and the quiet evenings she once enjoyed, with tea, soft music, and a bit of writing, were replaced by requests for help or caring for the grandkids. "Now I go to sleep, holding my breath, hoping no one knocks on my door," she told me. Lack of privacy isn't just inconvenient. It robs you of peace. It weakens your sense of identity. Even when no one is trying to intrude, it feels like everything you do is being watched or judged, as if nothing is yours anymore. And that touches something even deeper. Because boundaries, contrary to what many believe, are not about distance, they're about respect. They are what allow each person to have a space to be themselves, including you. When those boundaries fade, you start asking yourself, what's my role here? Am I still a parent, a helper around the house, a guest, a bit of everything? This confusion doesn't just live in the home, it starts living in your mind too. You begin to question whether you have the right to ask for silence, to rest, to have your own time. And for someone who lived independently for so many years, that doubt can be painful. You start to feel like you're present, but invisible. If this message spoke to you in any way, comment number 5 down below so I know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell. It helps us keep bringing you content that informs and uplifts. Number 6. Emotional isolation and generational misunderstanding. Living with your children doesn't always mean feeling closer to them. In fact, one of the most silent pains for many older adults is realizing that, even surrounded by family, they can feel profoundly alone. This kind of loneliness doesn't come from a lack of love or bad intentions. It comes from the invisible gap between generations. Your children live in a different world, faster-paced routines, worries that don't match your own, and a rhythm that feels like it runs on another frequency. Conversations become shorter. Mealtimes are drowned out by the TV or constant phone use. And when you want to share something, a memory, a thought, a feeling, it often feels like there's no space. The house is full, but the heart feels empty. You start wondering if it's even worth speaking up, and to avoid sounding dramatic or ungrateful, you smile and say everything's fine, even when it's not. I think of Mr. Gerald, 79 years old. He moved in with his daughter after a fall. At first he said he felt welcomed, but as the weeks passed he realized he was spending more time alone than he expected. The house was always moving, work, chores, rushing around. One evening he decided to share a story from his time in the Navy, something meaningful he had carried for years. But halfway through his grandson interrupted to ask for the Wi-Fi password, and the moment vanished. I wasn't angry, he told me. I just realized my world no longer had a place in theirs. That realization is hard, because it's not just about being together. It's about realizing that who you are, your stories, your experience, even your sense of humor, no longer seems to have a place. That hurts. It's a loss of emotional relevance, and when what's inside you has nowhere to go, it begins to shrink. You speak less. You smile more to hide the silence. And over time, the misunderstandings stop coming from arguments and start coming from the quiet. They don't know how you're feeling because you stopped telling them, and you stopped telling them because, at some point, you felt they stopped listening. The most painful part? The love is still there. You still want to protect them, support them, encourage them. But it's hard to give when you're emotionally empty, and even harder to refill your emotional tank in an environment where your feelings have no place to land. If this topic touched something in you, write number 6 down in the comments. It lets me know you're still with me, and if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do so. It helps us keep bringing content that comforts, informs, and inspires. Shall we keep going? Number 7. Sing to yourself so you don't become a burden. One of the most silent and painful sacrifices many elders make when living with their children is this: silence. But not the peaceful kind, the kind of silence that hides needs, discomfort, and feelings. You stop saying when something bothers you. You stop asking for help, even when you really need it. And it's not because those things stopped mattering. It's because, deep down, you're afraid of becoming a burden. Even in homes filled with love, that fear can slowly creep in. You don't want to get in the way. You don't want to disrupt anyone's routine. You don't want to be the reason your child or their spouse has to reschedule, cancel, or rearrange things. So you stay quiet. You don't mention the noise that keeps you from sleeping. You say nothing about the cold that makes your joints ache. You don't complain about the mattress that's hurting. You're back, and at first, this silence might even feel like a kind gesture, a form of gratitude. But over time, this silence starts to cost you, because every time you choose silence instead of honesty, you're telling yourself that your feelings matter less, that your voice deserves less space. I think of Ms. Elaine, 73 years old, a strong woman, the kind who always spoke her mind. But after moving in with her son and his family, she began to shrink. She stopped asking for help with groceries. She didn't mention that the new mattress was hurting her back. When I asked her why, she said, "They already do so much for me. I don't want to seem ungrateful." That word, and ungrateful, weighs heavily on those who age. It becomes a kind of measuring stick for everything, every request, every comment, every feeling, and for fear of crossing that invisible line, people choose silence. But here's an important truth. Gratitude and honesty can walk hand in hand. Being thankful doesn't mean you have to erase your emotions. It doesn't mean you stop being human. This habit of staying quiet becomes part of daily life. You smile when you're sad. You agree when you're uncomfortable. And slowly, you forget what it was like to speak freely, to ask without guilt, to be heard as a whole person. Not just someone who needs help, but someone who still has so much to offer. The truth is, maybe your children never asked you to stay quiet. But if the environment makes you feel like taking up space is inconvenient, the effect is the same. A slow fading of yourself. Not because of lack of love, but because of fear of disturbing what's good. And that's a kind of loss most people never notice, because when you stop expressing how you feel, you don't just lose comfort, you lose connection with others and with yourself. If this message touched you, comment number 7 below. It lets me know you're still with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do that and turn on notifications. Here at Health and Vitality, we believe every voice deserves to be heard, at any age. Shall we keep going? Number 8. The loss of purpose and role within the family. One of the deepest and least talked about changes that can happen when an older adult moves in with their children is the quiet disappearance of their role within the family. Little by little, the things that once gave structure to your days start to fade. Daily tasks, small decisions, attention to detail, all gradually taken over by others. And it doesn't happen all at once. There's no clear moment when someone says, "You don't need to take care of that anymore." It's subtle. One day you realize you're no longer planning meals, fixing what's broken, or being the one they turn to when a problem arises. You begin to watch the life of the household unfold as a spectator, not an active participant. This feeling can be especially painful for those who spent a lifetime being the backbone of the family, the one who solved things, cared for others, kept everything running. Now the days are quieter, but they also feel emptier. I remember Mr. Charles, 81 years old. He was always the one mowing the lawn, fixing the sink, keeping everything in working order. After moving in with his daughter, he offered to help many times, but he kept hearing, "Don't worry, we've got it." At first, he appreciated the rest, but later, with a sad look in his eyes, he told me, "I just wanted to feel important again, to feel like I still have something to offer." And he's absolutely right. That desire has nothing to do with pride. It has everything to do with purpose. Because no matter your age, we all need to feel useful. We need to feel that we make a difference. Even when your family means well, trying to spare you from effort, they may, without realizing it, also take away what once made you feel necessary. And when you no longer feel essential, you start to wonder quietly why you're even there. Not out of drama, but because of a quiet pain that comes from feeling invisible within your own story. You start looking at yourself, and instead of seeing who you were, you begin to define yourself by what's missing. And that's what makes this choice so complex. Living with your children can be a gesture of love, but it can also come with profound sacrifices. In the end, it's not just about space, meals, or routine. It's about your place, your value, your role. If you found yourself silently agreeing with all of this, please know you are not alone. These experiences are more common than most people realize, and they're not a sign of weakness. They're simply part of the emotional reality that many older adults face when they change homes out of love or necessity. But love should never mean disappearing. You've spent decades building your identity, your rhythm, your voice, your space. None of that needs to be left behind just because your address changed. Each of the experiences we've talked about here shows that independence goes far beyond the physical. It's emotional, mental, tied to your ability to choose, to express yourself, to feel like you matter. And if for any reason you feel like you've lost a bit of that, know that it's okay to recognize it. It's okay to want to reclaim it. You still deserve to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. You still deserve a space where you can breathe freely and speak openly. Now tell me, what resonated with you the most in this video? Which reflection feels closest to your own reality? What advice do you wish someone had given you before? Leave a comment with your thoughts. Your story might inspire others, and your words motivate us to keep creating content that truly matters. If this video was helpful for you, give it a like, subscribe to Health and Vitality, and share it with someone who needs to hear these words. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in the next video. Health and vigor to heal any pain.